Hi, my name's Kate Zaruche. Thank you for having me today. I'm the Director of Customer Analytics and Experience for Verint for the APAC region. And I'd like to spend some time talking with you today around how we use voice analytics solutions to elevate the customer experience as well as the employee experience. So as we all know, we're living in a very rapidly changing world, and some of these changes will have a deep and lasting impact on the way we do business. So what we're seeing at the moment is some changes around customer behaviour, as well as the new workforce dynamics with a new work from anywhere capability. And because of these two changes, we're actually seeing the acceleration of digital transformation at a much faster rate. So as we're talking to customers, we're hearing a set of very defined questions that everyone is asking. And these are around things like, how do we create differentiated experiences that are painless and reduce customer effort? How do we actually service our customers and engage our employees when they are in a work from home or work from anywhere distributed workforce? And how do we understand and act on behaviour in real time when that behaviour is changing so rapidly? And most importantly, how do we handle and follow through on an elevated customer expectation with the same staff and the same budget as we've always had? So very poignant questions at the moment. So Verint conducted some research to quantify those challenges. We spoke to around 2,500 business leaders globally who are responsible for customer engagement and customer experience. And we called the results of this study the engagement capacity gap. Now, we define this as the difference between what organisations know they need to do to meet customer expectations and the resources that they have to do this with. What we found is 80% of business leaders surveyed are actually really concerned about the challenges around managing the experience, and they believe that this concern will actually increase this year. A lot of them plan new hires around customer engagement, but in 2020 didn't pursue them because of the pandemic. So quite a few challenges that business leaders are facing. But there's also a lot of challenges that our customers are facing with their changing expectations. So I just want to share a little video with you, first of all, to introduce basically the changing landscape of customer engagement.
I am your customer. Do you know me? Do you know what I want? I want you to value me and my time. I have less patience than ever before. When I have a question or a problem, I need an answer, and I need it fast. Don't make it hard to get in touch. Don't make me call you when I don't want to. Give me options to connect with you, even automated virtual ones, and make sure all of those options will give me what I need as quickly as possible. I want you to make it simple. I don't need to know about the inner workings of your company and how one department handles this or that. If I have a question, it should be answered by the first person I talk to. Don't transfer me. And please, don't make me repeat myself. Better yet, let me find information by myself. Make it easy for me to just ask a question on your website or app to get what I need. I want you to care about me. Most of the time, I don't need any help. But when I have a real problem, I need to talk to a real person. I want that person to listen to me, understand me, and help me. My loyalty is for sale, and I will give it to the company that treats me like a human being. I expect your employees to have the tools that allow them to know enough about me and my issue to get to the root of the problem and resolve it. I expect your employees to be helpful, not helpless. I am your customer. Do you know me?
Customer expectations, while they're changing, still follow some pretty easy principles. And that's around, make it easy for me to deal with you in my channel of choice. But if I do need to switch channels, make that seamless. Now, we're all customers, and I'm sure we can all relate to some of the concepts we've seen in these videos. So given this customer landscape, it's understandable that the business leaders are a little bit concerned and overwhelmed with what's happening within our market at the moment. Everyone's fairly exhausted and stretched thin. We're wearing multiple hats as we get used to the new normal. So when we asked some of our survey respondents as part of the engagement capacity study for their list of concerns, we're actually a little bit surprised. 83% of them told us that they actually have concerns around at least 5 things that are up here on this list. Majority of them are concerned about how to act and understand rapidly changing behaviours, and they should be. As we've just seen from the video, customers are expecting easy and convenient digital-first services. They want a consistent experience regardless of what channel that they use, and it has to be exceptional service. Service is a differentiator. So we're expected to meet these demands with also an adaptable workforce. So the effective, efficient and integrated teams of humans and bots, and greater working flexibility, enabling people to work from anywhere, across channels, across departments, and across a changing environment. And of course, our employees are younger and more digitally savvy these days, so they expect to be equipped with really modern applications and new workflows to support them. So this is what we see as the future of work. And it needs to deliver on the promise of both the elevated customer experience as well as the delivery of operational efficiencies for the organisation. So it's kind of no wonder that we're all feeling a little overwhelmed. As we came out of 2020, organisations found themselves faced with this engagement capacity gap. And it's imperative that they make some really strategic and substantial investments to close that gap. And despite the challenges of last year, most business leaders feel that proper investment in customer experience tech is going to support them. So these are what we see as the top investment areas around 2021. You can see it focuses significantly around the customer expectations and employee engagement. The priorities with employee engagement, I think, are really key. I usually watch a podcast of a morning while I'm getting ready for work, the CX podcast, and I was listening to a session earlier this week that was delivered by Steve Cox, who's the VP of Digital Customer Journeys for Cisco. Now, Cisco have won have taken out the first spot and Great Place to Work over the last couple of years. So, he knows what he's talking about. And he said something that really resonated with me. It's fairly simple, but I think we forget a lot of the time. So he says that delivering an elevated customer experience doesn't always deliver on the employee experience. But if we focus on delivering an exceptional employee experience and employee engagement, they in turn will deliver a great customer experience. Also, focusing on increasing revenue also doesn't generate a great customer experience. But conversely, that great customer experience will always deliver an increased revenue and higher customer value. So I completely agree with the list that we see here around business priorities. It's pretty obvious. So while I don't necessarily agree with the order of the items on this list, I think we've got the priorities right. I think we're getting it right. To deliver on these, though, organisations needing to look at a set of new capabilities to deliver on closing or bridging that engagement capacity gap. So we're looking at things like capabilities to, power today's workforce, which, as I said, is increasingly distributed, as well as being augmented by bots. We also need tools to listen and understand to every interaction as it's happening to drive real-time assistance, whether it's direct help to a customer or coaching to an agent who is currently engaging with a customer. We're looking at solutions that break down workplace silos that exist right across the enterprise. Customer engagement doesn't just take place in one part of the organisation. It takes place across multiple channels and interaction points. And those silos really need to be connected to provide a seamless experience to the customer. So as they switch channels, they're not having to repeat themselves and they're not having to increase the effort that's required to have their inquiry resolved. And most importantly, we need technology that's open and flexible and allows them to rapidly deploy innovation. And I see this is where interaction analytics is pretty key in delivering some of these outcomes. Now, tools like interaction analytics, like speech and text, are not necessarily new capabilities. In fact, Grandview research done at the end of 2020 indicated that the market size value of speech analytics in 2020 was just over $1 billion US. And the traditional use cases generally focus on 3 key areas. We see use cases around agent performance, around operational efficiencies, and around customer experience. Now, these use cases still derive amazing benefits to organisations, but we're starting to see the use cases change a little bit as the solutions evolve and the needs of customers evolve as well. So we're seeing more use cases around how these solutions support things like in financial services, remediation programs for compliance issues. So for example, the mis-selling of insurance products on credit cards and mortgages. We see it being used to look at things like breaches to anti-hawking legislation. But one that I'm really passionate about is a trend towards using the solution to support organisational digital transformation efforts. And it helps in a few different ways. So first of all, we can use tools like speech and text analytics to identify what are the low value but high volume transactions that are really ripe for transition to a digital channel. Now we talk digital channels, it might be a website or a virtual assistant or self-service apps. So these solutions, as well as understanding the transactions or inquiry types that are suitable, also helps to identify the intent. So the ways people are articulating the issue or transaction that they're looking for. So this also helps in the development of the persona of your self-service, particularly of something like a virtual assistant. So what is the language that customers are using to drive the intent? And also what is the language that employees are using to provide the answers to that intent? So I think the most successful virtual assistants mimic natural language as closely as possible. And I'm sure we've all had experiences with chatbots that sort of support that theory. And lastly, tools like speech and text analytics will also help organisations pinpoint where there are digital failure points. So a customer will either call or email or get onto a web chat and say, I've been on your website and, which means they've tried to do something online and it's failed. So now they're having to switch channels. So what is it that's broken and forcing them to actually ring through to the contact centre? So driving these sort of low value interactions to digital channels doesn't result in lower voice interactions, but what we see is more complex inquiries coming through to our contact centres. So the skill set of our agents are starting to evolve as well. We're seeing more complex inquiries that require sort of stronger knowledge and problem-solving skills, and potentially a higher level of emotional intelligence for an agent to resolve, because they're usually things that are more complex and potentially more emotionally driven that are driving calls into the business. And this is where the new generation of interaction analytics solutions come into play. So we see the emergence of real-time and things like real-time agent assist to support in-the-moment activities, including things like workflow, guidance, assistance, knowledge, and automation. And these are increasingly needed to meet the customer's expectations and to also increase the workforce engagement. So the benefits that we're seeing around real-time agent guidance still fall into those same buckets around agent performance, operational efficiencies, and customer experience, but we're seeing the use cases have changed slightly. So we're seeing things like in-the-moment guidance for workers to drive efficiencies. So providing guidance in real time will have significant and immediate impact on the interaction outcome, both for the customer and for the organisation. Compliance alerts in real time help to reduce compliance risks, which are great when working remotely, when a supervisor can't tap someone on the shoulder. And also working remotely drives the need for greater assistance tools. So the shift from working to working from home has created a greater need for that guidance, where access to your supervisors or to your peers for collaboration is not as immediate as sometimes required. I've been working with a bank recently in Australia around automating their quality programs. And one of the things that we found while listening to their interactions was their handle time had increased. And we found that what was happening is if the agent didn't have an answer to a question, instead of sort of tapping, the neighbour who sits beside them or putting their hand up for their supervisor, they're having to rely on Microsoft Teams chats with their teams to get answers that they needed, which was causing delays and customers were being put on hold longer. So this real-time guidance and coaching for the agent in the moment gives a more immediate response to the customer and to the agent. We're also seeing consumers' expectations change faster around those response times. As new and potentially life-altering situations have emerged during the pandemic, unless we've all become more digitally savvy. As we spend more and more time inside our houses for long periods of time during circuit breakers and lockdowns. So the expectations around what we can do and how quickly we receive information is really vital to us these days. So powered by voice data, we see some use cases emerging around real time. So we're seeing these solutions being used to do things like drive awareness of customer sentiment. So the agent can perhaps change the approach if the customer is using language that indicates that they're frustrated. We're seeing this coupled with intent engines to derive next best action for an agent. And what that will do for the customer is it means, first of all, the agent doesn't need to rely on process flows, but the agent can also start to predict the customer's next question. And sometimes it's a question the customer doesn't know that they need to ask. So the call will end, they'll realize that there's a next step to the process and they'd call back. So these solutions are starting to bridge that and also have a positive impact on repeat calls and first call resolution. We're also seeing opportunities around identifying sales opportunity or an upsell or cross-sell as appropriate, where customers are likely to churn, and being able to match a save offer or a retention offer that matches the customer's value or profile. And again, I'll come back to compliance. This is a great tool. Instead of just monitoring to make sure that in calls that have already occurred, that our compliance obligations were met, we can actually manage this in real time to make sure that they are met on the spot. I'd like to share a little video with you around how we're working between Verint and Avaya to provide real-time agent guidance. We're working with organisations to help drive the performance and the engagement in this very hybrid workforce and to deliver on that elevated customer experience. So here's an example of our real-time agent assist in action. The future is already here, and these solutions are freeing up agents to focus on the outcomes and the dialogue, applying judgment as well as their emotional intelligence and creativity to drive meaningful interactions. So let's have a look at how it works.
When a customer interaction involves a complaint or escalation, real-time assistance can be the difference between a satisfied customer or one who is lost to the competition. Now that many interactions are taking place over digital channels like chat or from agents working from home, real-time guidance and support are more important than ever before. Let's look at an example. Cassandra is a contact center agent. When she starts a call with a customer, the Work Assist window pops up to provide guidance. During the call, using Verint's AI technology, Work Assist recognizes the customer is frustrated and alerts the agent. Then it provides guidance to help her. Later in the call, the system recognizes that the agent has interrupted the customer several times as he tries to respond. The system coaches her to let the customer complete his sentence before responding. Towards the end of the call, and following the coaching and guidance to the agent, the customer seems to express positive sentiment and is satisfied with the call resolution. The Verint solution offers similar guidance during a digital interaction via chat. Let's look at an example. Cassandra is assisting a customer via chat. The Work Assist window opens to provide in-the-moment assistance. Now, Robert, her customer, would like to update his payment terms. The system recognizes that the customer is in good standing and that the agent is on the application page for updating payment terms. The system notifies Cassandra that she can provide an update to Robert's payment terms with no fee. She doesn't have to wait for approval or hunt for the information in other systems. What you are seeing is an RPA linked directly to customer engagement. No other RPA in the market today can do this. With Verint, you can use these solutions to improve your CX, reduce costs, and close the engagement capacity gap.
So we've talked around some of the use cases, and we know that real-time solutions have been around for a little while. However, due to advancements in the technology, we're now starting to see and be able to measure significant ROI around these solutions. So I'm going to go through just a little bit of research that's recently been conducted by Aberdeen at the end of 2020, and it indicates that contact centres who utilise AI capabilities to guide agents in real time see significant improvements over those that don't. So some statistics that we can see here around organisations leveraging this capability, achieving a 3.5 times greater annual increase in customer satisfaction, which has a significant impact on the bottom line. So we know this correlates to customer value. And this comes from uncovering things like inefficiencies and addressing them in real time. So given this, it's not surprising that the same report also says that in AI-enabled contact centres see 8 times greater annual improvement in reducing customer effort, which again is a key correlation back to customer loyalty. So soft skills are generally a little bit less tangible and are a little harder to deliver coaching on. So quite often we go to our customers for this information. So we find things like active listening, empathy, and ownership to address issues do have a direct and significant impact on the customer sat results. So using this real-time agent guidance with things like sentiment alerts actually delivers to organisations a 3 times greater annual increase in customer retention. So the results are quite significant for our customers, but also we need to look internally. What does this deliver for us as an organisation? So we see similar increases. Within this research by Aberdeen, their survey showed that agents generally spend on average between 14 and 16% of their time on a call with a customer looking to find the right information to service them accurately. So giving them this real-time guidance through contextual knowledge, next best action, gives a boost to productivity around 2 times greater than those that do not use the technologies. So getting through more workload with the same amount of agents reduces overall cost, of course, and cost to serve. So using real-time agent assist sees on average an 11 times greater annual improvement. So the numbers are really hard to argue with. I want to share just before we finish up a quick case study around one of our customers who's using this solution. We're looking at a mortgage service provider named Florius. So Floris mortgages are sold through intermediaries. So their contact centre is a service centre only and has no sales capabilities. So it's all around servicing customers with existing mortgages. They're on a path of digital transformation with the primary goal being to make every interaction as engaging, responsive and rewarding as possible while reducing the amount of effort a customer needs to expend to get the information that they need. So they're currently using both traditional speech analytics as well as Verint real-time agent assist. And they're seeing some significant results. They've been using the solution for around 6 months, and already we've seen an increase in net promoter scores of around 5 points, which is actually quite significant. We're also seeing, very well correlated, an increase in first call resolution by 5%, which means that they're actually receiving at least 5% less calls than they would expect. They're seeing improvements in things like customer satisfaction, and they're also uncovering opportunities within their voice interactions to drive better outcomes in real time, going back to that digital transformation use case we talked about earlier. One soft benefit that they didn't realise that they would get, which is really beneficial for their work from home or work from anywhere workforce, is that their onboarding process actually reduced. So classroom training reduced from 6 weeks to 2 weeks because we could give agents that coaching in real time as they needed it. So it's delivering significant benefits right across the organisation. Lastly, I'll share a use case around a global banking customer that we work with here in the APAC region. Again, they're using real-time speech analytics along with speech analytics and our desktop and process analytics solutions to help drive sales revenue through personalising offers when customers call through into their service lines. So first of all, they use speech analytics to identify who their top and bottom performers were within the contact centre around making a new sale or an upsell. And they looked at the characteristics of their call. So they looked at things like, what are the products that they're pitching? Are they high value products, or are they looking for the quick and easy things? How do they overcome objectives? And what's different in the way they close the call? Are they actually asking for the sale at the end? So once they identified these characteristics, they were able to use real-time speech analytics and desktop process analytics to present information to the agent that was going to help to qualify the customer, to qualify the products that they're eligible for, to assist with objection handlings, and to remember to actually close the sale. So they saw an increase in their sales pitch from 48% to 60% of their interactions, and their annual sales increased by 25%. Now, for a global banking customer, that's a significant return. Their expected payback for these solutions was around 6 months. So it's a very quick return on investment. That's all I'm going to talk about with you today. Avaya and Verint are here to help you on your digital transformation journey and to support your customer experience. Please reach out to us if you would like any more information. And I think now we'll probably go into a Q&A. Thank you.